Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview for Wednesday, the 19th of April, 2017. Hope you're having a good trading week. Here's a look at the ES front month futures contract. Not much different than anything else, but we have some things to discuss here. So it's still been pretty flat, slight downward bias for the session after the upward day on Monday when the markets were closed around the world. Let's go through the major indices and then we'll talk about the intraday action and then go from there. So here's a look at the crude oil down 5 cents to 52.35, doesn't really mean anything. Gold down 410, also doesn't mean much. That's a fairly flat deal for gold. S&P cash index down almost 7 points after being up on Monday when the world closed. NDX 100 down 7 after being up a little bit the day before, and now it's still under the 13 sell signal. Nothing new there. Stocks up 4 after sliding for the last week or so. Biotech's down 30, threatening the lows of the last month or 6 weeks or so. So we'll watch that. The VIX retreated 24 cents to 14.42. I still like the VIX. Anything above 14 or so is decent. Trend 1.43 with a 10-day moving average at 1.31 on the trend. NASDAQ volume, again, really poor, only 1.47. So even though we came back from the lightest volume day of the year because that was a global holiday, except here in the U.S. on Monday, we really came in with the third lightest day of the year. And it was Thursday that was the second lightest day of the year. So we've had 3 of the lightest volume days of the year in a row. Futures still worked for us. Stocks weren't all that exciting. There was some early action, but that's about it. Advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ was negative 338. Advanced decline ratio on the New York negative 142, so fairly flat. Google loses just over a point, still suffering under that 13 sell signal. Apple down 63 cents. Amazon gains $1.79. Netflix down $3.89. Look how perfectly that 13 sell signal and the risk line for that is working, still containing the market on Netflix. Tesla down $1.19. TLT, this is the 20-year bond ETF, new highs. Now this is it. This is the biggest. This is important, okay? Because the TLT, the bonds gapped down hard on election day back in November and closed down big for the day. Market was not expecting the Trump win, and basically the bonds got torched because of it. This is the highest close since election day. So that is interesting because if you think interest rates are heading higher, and they should have been potentially, something has changed in the mix here. So let's just be clear of that. We'll talk about that more later. Dow Jones Industrial Average, which we don't really follow because professional traders don't, down 113 points to 28,500 and change. Here's the bigger thing. Goldman Sachs for us, I closed out my puts today near 214. We were short from a cost basis of 244 starting from early on in the year, and we closed them out today for basically a 30-point gain. Those options were set to expire here shortly. Look at the volume on that, though. Gap down. And that also gives us 11 bars down towards a secret buy signal. So Goldman could get a buy signal here in a day or two anyways, and options expire on Friday. That's a huge winner for us, something we talked about on the first day of the year. Did it with options because you don't usually hold stocks, especially for that long, and that's an expensive one. But it's a 30-point winner any way you look at it because we had in-the-money options. Let's look at the intraday action here. So here's the ES. Again, small gap down, reached up, almost filled, came within a tick or two. We'll call it a fill. And then that was it. Came down, dipped a little lower in the right before lunch. That was the bottom of the day, retreated to the midpoint VWAP, and that was the whole entire afternoon. Nobody's trading here as we're waiting on some earnings. Here's the NASDAQ side, gap down, filled the gap. That was the entire range of the day, basically, on the NASDAQ within the first 40 minutes. Really disappointing, but again, it's core earnings season, and that's what the market's focused on. Everybody's looking at that. All right, so let's take a look at the economic data for Wednesday. We have more earnings Wednesday and then more even Thursday. MBA mortgage applications at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Crude oil inventories at 10:30. Fed Beige at 2 p.m. There's still some data left this week. We'll have that in the preview for tomorrow. More earnings on Thursday, although there's still a couple of key ones for sure on Wednesday for us to focus on, and then Thursday we'll see something, and then next week is the biggest bulk of earnings. We'll talk about that in the weekend preview. 3 days left. We got options expiration still. This is options expiration for April. So if there's an options unraveling move, could happen Wednesday or Thursday. We'll look for that after the first hour both days. Friday should be pretty much dead. That's what happens for expiration. Charts as usual brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week.